This week, we're going to be digging deeper into intimacy. If you want to find out about experiential intimacy and spiritual intimacy, that is what it's like to work with your forever person and what it's like to work with God, this is the episode for you. So tune in, stay close, it's going to get hot. We'll be right back.
Getting hot in here.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna off all my clothes. Oh, that was the other one. That was the other one. That was physical.
This is a family show. All right, we'll be right back. What's up, Safehouse family?
What's up?
We're back again.
Yes.
We got some more intimacy going on this time. You see, she has a song in her heart as normal.
Yes, well, I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to sing it. Yeah, just sang a song.
So remember you all to like, share, subscribe, hit the little bell for notifications. Give us some comments below. We appreciate the comments we've got. Sister Mills, you are a big supporter.
You're like a superstar.
We're just going to give you a big shout out for being such a big supporter of the channel.
Thank you, Sister Mills.
Sister Ann Mills. She is just consistently watching the videos, commenting on the videos, giving us suggestions. So thank you so much. And those of you out there, if you want to benefit like Sister Mills, just make sure you share this content. We believe God has given us something good to say for the benefit of couples, so pass it on.
You know, can I give a couple more shout outs? Since we're giving shout outs to people. Mm-hmm. You know, I want to give a shout out to my brother, Alan. He loves the videos. He always has a lot of comments. And our good friend, Kim Young.
Oh, okay,
you know, she always has a lot of feedback too. So we want to say thank you to Kim and to Alan for, like I said, watching the videos and definitely giving us feedback and having questions and things like that. Because that's what helps us.
It does. It helps us get better. So we got some feedback from DJ AC Smooth.
Yes, we did. Yes.
Thanks, brother, for watching the channel. So let's get into this. Into it. Experiential intimacy. That's a big old word.
It is a.
Can I just say work intimacy?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I like to call it experiencing intimacy. Experiences. But couples have experiences. You know how like you can have like when you go on vacation and then they say, okay, this is a whole experience.
Yeah.
This isn't just, a regular vacation. It's an experience. And so I think couples should, be able to do that with their intimacy. They should, I feel like if they make them experiences, then once again, to me, an experience is memorable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, not that experiential intimacy always has to be memorable.
Yeah.
But I think it does have to be, it is nice when a part of experiential intimacy is memorable.
Yeah. No. And it's weird because I know in a lot of cases it's hard for couples to share experiences together.
Yeah.
Or to pull experiences out of what may seem to be mundane, right?
Yeah.
We want to attach big production.
Yeah, we do.
To any experience we have, unless we're like going on vacation or flying on a plane, then flued you out. What's the phrase that got you flued out?
I don't even know what that means.
Right. That's a phrase that the young folks use. I probably misused it.
I don't even know what
to get flued out. But and you're an English major, so I know that's messing with you.
How do you even spell that?
Hey,
Okay, go ahead. We digress.
We digress, right? Correct me in the comments on how to use that properly, yo.
I can't even help you.
Aging person here trying to use young people's language. So no, but we attach an experience to it and something big when really experience is about what are we sharing in the experience that we have.
Yes.
And so, just to share some of our experiences, some would consider these things mundane. We have some of our best brainstorming when we're road tripping.
Yeah.
Right? So we're road trip to a place. Sometimes we're invited to speak at places. While we're on the way there, we're either brainstorming about the content we're going to present there, or we're brainstorming on content we're going to present in the future, or something about a series. This very series about intimacy came out of a road trip discussion, right? So that's how we can have that experience and sort of work a problem together or work a situation together, right?
Yeah.
Without it being such a big thing, It's like, I'm not putting you on a plane and we're flying somewhere to do
something. Fluent.
Getting flued out.
I'm gonna flew you out to Florida.
Now you are using it wrong. I know I was using it wrong. You used it really wrong. What? Right.
Oh my gosh, that's the English major, isn't it? Baby, let's correct that. Right. You're not fluing nobody nowhere. Okay, you can fly them out, but you're not fluing them out anywhere. Okay.
But you know how it goes. It's like, yeah, I got flew out to New Orleans.
Right?
You know,
No, ma'am.
He flew me. He flew me out.
No.
You know?
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I just start shaking. I'm like, oh, we can't do that.
Yeah, my wife's family, they spoke the King's English.
Right, that was it. That was the only thing my dad allowed. You're not speaking the King's English. It was not allowed. We couldn't do slang, nothing.
The rest of us ghetto urchins, we learned how to speak as best we can.
Right.
However, they were instructed.
I can't do it. See, this right here is a whole experience. Right here. Yeah. Just us, laughing and talking and just, like I say, getting off topic, whatever. This is just a whole experience for us. It's a perfect example.
Well, then let's look at that. So what are there's barriers for some reason, people having these sort of experiential moments. What do you think are barriers to folks just, we're working together on something? What?
Well, I think one of the barriers could be that it's communication. Mm-hmm. Like you said, if you feel like you just can't freely communicate with your spouse, then because you feel like when you like this conversation can just go wrong. Yeah, like with some other couples, they'd be like, "Oh, now you're talking about the way I talk." It's like, no, I thought we was just joking.
Yeah, right.
So I think that is one of the biggest barriers. Is like I said, how do people? Like you said, what does that interaction look like when you're talking with your spouse? Like I said, when you're joking with your spouse, it's kind of like what I tell the kids at school. I say it's funny until somebody starts taking it seriously.
Yeah.
Then it's not funny no more. And so once again, I think, for me and you, we early on in our marriage, that probably could have taken a left turn. Mm-hmm. But I feel like now that, we celebrated 31 years, right. We just had our anniversary last year. God help me. Last week. This is what happens when you're at school all day with the kids. You wish it was a year, but it was just a day. We celebrated our anniversary last week. We're so different. I think we're different people now.
Absolutely.
And like I said, we've kind of like honed our communication skills, and we've also honed our intimacy skills.
Yeah, we've definitely evolved.
Yeah,
and we've also, I wouldn't say we've gotten thicker skin, but we have less sensitive skin.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, our skin is less sensitive.
It's less sensitive, right? And I think we also give each other the grace and space to know that whenever a topic comes up, you're not trying to hurt me, I'm not trying to hurt you, right? So we don't immediately jump to the hurt place, right? To say, okay, you must be trying to get me, or you must be trying to do something to me. It's maybe I just misunderstood what you said, or I just take it face value. We're laughing at a moment, right?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I've seen, many couples just, start off, it's simple, it's jovial, and all it takes is one word, phrase, sentence, or situation. And it's like you feel the atmosphere, the temperature in the room get cold, right? And it's like the wind comes in and people start breathing frost.
Yeah. Well, we've had that experience. So our good friends, the Walkers, Derek and Tawana, they would have these couple nights. Right?
Yeah.
And so they love to play games, and what would start out like really fun, really simple. I mean, you had couples going home.
It shouldn't have been a couples night. It should have been a couple get mad night.
Right.
Because anytime you bring out games, all of that stuff, individual stuff starts to come out, whether it's competitiveness or sensitivity about a topic. And, marriage games can put you on the spot, right?
They can.
It's just like, is your husband, Superman or Mighty Mouse in the bedroom, right? And
you better say Superman.
If you say anything other than Superman, it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight.
That's true.
So it's like a setup. Now, of course, we had some Mighty Mouses in the room, and
answers.
Mighty Mouse answers. Yeah. We had some Mighty Mouse answers,
Right.
and that sent folks to the sunken place.
You're right. We told the walkers, we like, we love you guys, by the way. We was like, yeah, we can't come over to y'all house no more because, too many people want to break up after we hang out with you.
And Tawana's so innocent. She brings out, let's play a game. Right. I was like, that game is the devil.
Right. We can't play that game no more.
We're about to end relationships on that topic. But no, it's...
You can't even do the newlywed game. Well, what's your favorite color? You're just like, okay, my favorite color is blue. And then come to you and you say like, red.
Wait, you always wearing orange.
Right. You're like, boy, you know then once again,
you don't know
something
me. You never,
that's simple, which should be an experience, which should be fun.
It escalates into conflict.
Right. And so that to me is like a big barrier, like why some people just don't fool around. That kind of stuff.
So leave in the comments below, why do you think couples can't share experiences? We have some insights into what we've seen, but we believe there's many, many more. But we'd like to hear from you below on why is it people can't, forever people. We're with this person forever. So we got to be able to share experiences for what they are, or find experiences in the things that we do every day. But what are the barriers to that?
Well, I got two barriers for me, and just with some of the experiences that we shared. Yeah. Working out together.
Yeah.
I really did like working out with you. I did. I did. I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. The problem was he was the only one losing weight. I was just like, this is not working for me. I was like, because he out here looking all sexy and, it's felt. I'm like, I'm still like, big and and out of shape. And I just like you're toning. No, sir. I am not getting toned. Okay, so I was getting frustrated because it was but also like you said, men and women are different. They lose weight at different things or whatever at different paces. But like I said, I enjoyed us doing it together, but I was also getting frustrated because my progress wasn't as quick as your progress. So that became a barrier for me.
I think it's a case study in how, gyms and things like that. There's programs that's built for men and programs that are built for women.
Yeah.
Because, I was just telling you the best of what I know to do, right? I'm not an expert and I'm not a trainer by any stretch of the imagination, right? And you can tell by my great physique that you wouldn't be able to tell. No, I'm just kidding.
I think we just struggle with, like I said, and I think this would be many couples. They struggle, like some couples are really good at going on diets together, doing that kind of stuff. Yeah. But then once again, like I said, men and women are different and they lose weight differently. And so we could be eating the same thing. You can lose 20 pounds and I just lose 2. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so like you said, you just kind of, what should have been like something that was like fun is now like,
You're measuring the progress versus the experience, right?
Exactly.
So,
exactly. And that's a barrier.
Yeah, that's a barrier. Yeah. And who's to say we could have still had the workout time, but maybe instead of you always doing my workout, now you go to a trainer there and say, okay, could you give me a workout? And we may work out at the same time. We may do different exercises at different rates or different, whatever, right? But you just kind of work it.
Last time I had a trainer, Andre thought that I was going to leave him for the trainer. Remember we went skiing? And so we did. We went separately because Andre was able to like really catch on to the skiing thing, not me. I never did catch on. And so I was like holding on to the ski instructor, all hugged up on him.
I can't ski. Let me hold on to your butt in these tight clothes. Oh my God, I can't make it down the hill. I just have to put my hands on your chest so I can stabilize myself.
I couldn't even get it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
she couldn't get it.
I couldn't.
There was no motivation to get it. In that scenario, right? All the little ladies was lined up to come to have the little ski instructor, some little, white Chad with a jawline and he's swooshing and throwing snow, whoosh, whoosh. Here I am, ladies. You need some help, And, the rest of us are kind of doing the duck walk, the penguin walk, trying to get down. We looking like kids.
That was a whole experience.
So, yeah. So that was an experience that we can look back on and laugh, right? But, yeah, we had to get her out of there.
Right.
She was clinging a little bit. She said she was holding on to stand up. I don't know. It was like she was grabbing all the wrong body parts to stand up. It's like, you ain't got to grab that to steady yourself. You ain't got to grab that to steady yourself. Really?
It was my first time skiing. I didn't know. Oh, see, like I said, this whole episode is an experience. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah.
But that's us and our experiences.
Yeah, it was. And you know, so to me, like you mentioned, those barriers, I think a barrier too is, you know, what each person brings to the experience.
Yes.
Right. And so in some relationship situations, you really have to look back and see, we talked about equity in the past,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So what behaviors have you trained into your significant other that they now just expect conflict out of you, right? Well, it's like, okay, every time I talk to this person, it turns into conflict.
That's
true.
true.
So this is just another one,
Yeah.
right? So we have to sort of look at that. And then two, in looking at yourself, what is it in you that when we start talking, you start to process things as an attack, right? So what makes you do that? I understand what that's like, because even as recently, you know, I'm going through a process right now, and every little thing sort of sparks my paranoia.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm starting to say, well, what did they mean by that? And what are they trying to say? And why did this person do this? And why did so and so and so and so? When really I'm reacting to the pressure I have in other areas of my life, right? Not really, this person is not, there's nothing personal there, right? But I have other pressures that have caused me to be sensitive about certain things. And so now I'm attaching that to these conversations. And now I'm judging them, right? And so I believe in relationships, we have sensitivities, experiences, the T word traumas, whatever that cause us to think a certain way. And now we hear certain keywords or hear certain conversations, and we immediately reflex to that place of, okay, they must be trying to get me. They must be trying to humiliate me. They must be trying to make me look stupid, or you know, I feel I never have anything smart to say. There's so much smarter than me. Anything that I say is going to be stupid, right? And so once again, those are just a myriad of things, but I think that's another, you know, once again, that introspective, you know, about, you know, this intimacy, and then what's happened to you. Yeah. You know, that kind of makes you think about the intimacy, and then what's happened between you. Yeah. That makes you behave a certain way about that experience.
Because to me, the experiential is about togetherness. Yeah. You know, and so, like I said, because, you know, that's been my big thing for the past 2 years. I'm like, let's just try to do everything together if it's possible. And so, so when you had mentioned work intimacy, I remember our pastor, Pastor Reynolds, you know, a long time ago when we had a marriage conference, they were talking about work intimacy. And every time it's like, you know, just cleaning the kitchen together. Yeah. You wash, I dry. You know, I wash the clothes, you fold the clothes. Right. You know, so like I said, once again, experiential is like, okay, we a team. You know, it's a team effort. I think another one of the things that we do pretty good together is, you know, we host a big barbecue. Yeah. You know, so Andre, he cooks all the food, you know, but then I'm also kind of helping too. Hey, babe, can you get the pans? Can you bring the meat? Can you set it all up? So once again, we're making this barbecue happen, you know, together. And we both each have roles, you know, have roles. And so, but we're doing it together. And, you know, neither one of us are stressed out about what it is, you know, that we're doing. You know, because once again, it should be an experience. We should come away with that and be like, boy, we both tired, but we had a great time. And so to me, that's how I look at experiential intimacy, because I think what people get frustrated is where it doesn't become experiential is when people feel like, because sometimes married couples can feel like I'm doing it all by myself. Yeah. I'm raising the kids by myself. Right. I'm cooking by myself. I do everything by myself. And so being able to figure out a way to create time where you can do those types of activities together, I think makes the other person who feels like they're doing it all by themselves, they now feel a little bit better because they're like, oh, okay, now I have help, because sometimes experiential intimacy is I just need some help. You know?
Another thing is competition. You have some couples that feel like they're constantly in this state of one-upsmanship, right? Yeah, that is true. You do something, I got to do something. Yeah. And so we never get to a place of working together, because we're really working against each other, trying to best each other.
That's true.
In what we're doing, true. Right? Yeah. And it's like, okay, so who wins that competition, and what do you win? Right. Nothing. The booby prize. The booby prize,
the
right?
zonker, like they do on Let's Make a Deal. You know, that's nothing. Nobody wants that.
So, we've unpacked that a little bit. So once again, in the comments below, tell us what you think about experiential or work intimacy.
Yeah.
What's it like to work with others? Tell us about some barriers, and also tell us about some boosters, some things that'll help, move that experiential intimacy forward. So we value your comments and opinions, and it helps make us better. So what about spiritual intimacy?
I think the thing to me, I wanted to do these two together because I feel like spiritual intimacy is, it's a very good activity for experiential.
Yeah.
Because we're doing it.
Get a twofer.
Right,
yeah.
right. It's a twofer because we're doing it together.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about spiritual intimacy, I think about us being in a situation where we can share, our spiritual beliefs. We can worship together, we can pray together. So it's not just like us just praying together, but it's also us, like you said, being able to have conversation about our where we are spiritually too. Because, like you said, it's like, man, if I feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be spiritually, it, to me, that's the person I should be able to talk to, and to be able to say, hey, you know what? I'm just not there yet.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, to be able to have those levels of honest conversations about, where I am, because once again, it changes, it's like, I don't have as much faith as I used to have. I used to be, I just don't believe in this thing.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's where that spiritual intimacy comes from, because sometimes we get afraid, like I said, when we talk about barriers, we get afraid be able to even say those things.
Yeah.
Because, the church kind of teaches us, well, you don't have the spirit of fear.
Right.
Right. So you just kind of suck it up, but I feel like in a relationship with your forever person, that's the person that you should be able to share all of your hopes and your dreams and your values and your fears. Because like I said, yeah, we don't have the spirit of fear, but it doesn't mean that we don't get afraid.
Exactly. I mean, you look at this thing and you can measure spiritual intimacy by what happens when the down turns.
Yeah, that is true.
And so if I compare like these last couple of years of our life to when we first got together, we've had up and down in the relationship, right? Ups and downs financially in terms of our stability or whatever. No, we're not saying that, we've had super bad, but just in terms of uncertainty around some things,
Definitely uncertainty.
And where I found we've got the greatest spiritual intimacy is not necessarily, just praying together every day or doing a lot of the spiritual disciplines, which you should do. But I think it's that we found places to lean into each other when one was weaker and the other one was stronger, right? I think that's what it is. It's just like, and I hate to make this analogy, but it is kind of like, when you come together to be intimate physically, right? Yeah. You may have one that's more ready than the other, and it's kind of the responsibility of the other person to put that person to a place where they can be, more ready or more willing. And then once they get into it, it's, the explosions happen or whatever. What I enjoy, and I look over the last year, it's like, we wanted to do some things together and we started praying more. We're still not where we want to be. But I think when we look back and say, man, when things got rough, did we both lean into the same space of faith?
Yeah.
I think that was very, very clear. I think we were both believing God for the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
That is true.
And we were praying, maybe not together, but separately or whatever. And we'd go receive prophecy together, or we'd go ask God a question together, or when we're unsure, we work through that thing together. So I think if I had to look at the last 2 years of this last sort of scoop, because it scoops up and down, I'd say, hey, I don't think we did completely bad in turning into our spirituality together to cope with what we were working through.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I think sometimes couples can get caught up on the mechanics, the appearance, hey, we pray every morning, we pray every night, we do this, we do that, we do the other. Now, I'm not saying those things are bad. I think those things are good, right? In developing your disciplines. But really what you believe, They used to say this all the time. What you really believe happens when you stub your toe, right?
Yeah, that's true.
When you stub your toe, are you calling out Jesus or are you saying a full letter word?
That's true. That is true. That is true.
You know.
That is true.
And so when we stubbed our toe, we called on Jesus.
Yeah.
Right?
That is true. Yeah.
I know, that's what I think.
No, I totally agree with you on that. Because like you said, it's one is down, the other one is up, and we pull on each other.
Yeah,
because to me that's what spirituality is. Right. We're pulling on each other and we're pulling on God. Right. It kind of goes back to the scripture. A threefold cord is not easily broken in Ecclesiastes 4. So to me, that's where that spirituality is, because we need each other.
Yeah.
And it's different for each of us. I know we had talked about that before, like you said, you always say I'm super saved, even though I don't feel super saved all the time. But once again, it's that situation where we all, figure out like, okay, we balance each other out.
Yeah. And once again, to stay with the sort of nasty analogies, I just think spiritual intimacy is very analogous to good lovemaking, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because spiritually, I'm into you, you're into me. I'm trying to help fulfill that need for you. You're trying to help fulfill the need for me. Yeah, there's some pieces of it I'm trying to get for myself, some pieces you're trying to get for yourself, but ultimately it's about the unity of both of us together, right?
Absolutely.
So, for those out there that say, man, how do I, just think about that process when you're with your forever person and you're making that union really spiritually. How do you transcend to a place where it's almost like that?
Yeah.
That's
true.
Yeah, because I can really say, man, there was times last year where things were unsure and things were a little bit rocky, but we came together and we just believed God on those things, and we just united and we were connected, and even though the situation hadn't changed, there was comfort in each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's comfort in what God had said he was going to do and would eventually do. And when my faith was weak, yours was strong, and mine was strong when yours was weak. And, once again, I just think that's a great place to be, to say, okay, man, how do we get to this place of spiritual intimacy? You got an example.
Yeah. No, that's true. I think that's also why the Bible says not to be unequally yoked.
Yeah.
Because when things do happen, if you believe one way and I believe something different, I mean, it does. It makes it hard for us to come together.
It does.
It's just extremely difficult.
It's hard. It's very hard. So that is it for the intimacy.
Yeah.
We've gone through all 5. You can go back and check out the past episodes. We went through physical, emotional, intellectual, experiential, and spiritual.
Yeah.
5 of them. So once again, give us the feedback.
Please give us the feedback.
Tell us about your experiences without getting nasty in the comments about intimacy, right? And tell us how this series has affected you on these love skills. We're going to be digging into other love skills, but this love skill of intimacy, has this helped you to refine your love skill? And frankly, if you want to dig more into how to do it, reach out to us, either safehouse@gmail.com or in the comments below. And we will get with you.
We will.
Discuss, work through some of these things. Hope to even learn from you.
Yeah. Because like I said, we're still learning too. We haven't mastered it. We're still learning too. So we're always open to, trying something different. Like, oh, you know what? We never thought about it. So we're learning too.
So that's another one in the book, Safe House family.
Yes.
We love you so much.
We love you guys.
Take care and peace.